Hello, it is time for The Way It Is, and we're looking at the big stories that have been dominating news headlines over the past couple of days and especially over the weekend. And joining me in studio for that conversation is Ambrose Wedder, who's a lawyer. Also with us is Beatrice Salachi, she's Majority Whip in the Senate, and the Suna East Member of Parliament, Junet Mohammed, sitting in, of course, today as well for Hassan Omar, who's away retreating with the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy. And we also would like to hear from you this morning as we canvass the several issues we'll discuss this morning. Talk to us, let us know what you think about the various subjects. At Sophia Wanuna is where you can find me. It will be great to hear from you as well this morning. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Let's begin with a prayer rally. You were there, I saw you hardly in prayer. Intercession it was you were making. And one of the biggest questions that's been asked is that one of the reasons that the judge of Suji cited in allowing for the retracted evidence to be submitted or be used in the case against the Deputy President and Sang is because of what he described as unprecedented conduct of politicians in Kenya. And that is what we saw again yesterday. There's all of this tough talk and pretty much setting Kenya on a collision path with the International Criminal Court. So are you, as politicians, in this particular matter, playing into the hands of the ICC?
Well, first I'll say, Sophie, that when you look at the case of the ICC, and I don't want to talk about the judges, I just want to talk about the case. From 2008 to date, you look at the case and you ask yourself whether indeed when we agreed to be signatories of the Roman Statute, we thought the case was coming in to help countries to be stable. The stability of a country is critical. But when you look at now the case of Kenya, you find a case where the ICC does not care anymore about stability of Kenya. It cares more to ensure the talk that was there, that we shall be the ones to show how the ICC works. Kenya will be the first example in terms of ensuring this will never happen, and yet, and for me, and that is the most important thing even when we go to the UN, when we talk of peace and security, we always say, if a country is moving on, and a country has been able to appreciate, yes, there were mistakes, and these mistakes have been done, and they have picked on and they have moved, then you are there to support them to ensure.
But when you look at, I'd also disagree with you because the president's case was terminated and three others as well. So why not allow due process on these two? Why then does it become the threatening the stability of the country? And I think we have been very, very accommodative. We have been very supportive of the process, and we have looked at the process as Kenya. I think we have supported the process to where until it is indeed the ICC that has changed. Because when we agreed, yes, we shall do the amendments of Article 68 and agree that, yes, the recanter, when you collect evidence, you can use that evidence. But they agreed as a team that indeed, as much as we are agreeing on this proposal, Kenya will not be the first to be used on because their case was already in court. But then when they come and change that, so what do you expect the country to do? But these political utterances are working against you, which takes me back to my question, that why continue then to make utterances that only inform rulings that are anti your position?
No. And I want to say this, if indeed this was a court where you go for justice, then that is it. But ICC changed and it became a serious political court, and therefore we deal with it political. Let's continue.
So with the president's case, justice wasn't served with it being terminated?
And it was because of political pressure also.
All right.
Let us not lie.
Let's hear from Junet. What do you take from all of this clamoring around this case?
Thank you, Sophie. I think the prayers are very good. We will support if you pray for someone and you want to speak to God, because prayers do help sometimes. But when things are legal, when things are in court, I think the best thing to do is to leave the matter to take its course and, defend it in court. As you said earlier, these cases were 6 in number, the initial, and all of them are gone except 2. And I think the Deputy President is, there are people who are trying to help him, but they're not helping him the right way. By shouting and making noise in the streets of Nairobi or outside Nairobi, will not help that case in any way. What we need to do is, if it is political, Jubilee knows where to engage politically. It's in the international forums like the UN and other places, not in Kurusoi. I don't think Kurusoi rally has any effect politically on that case, as we understand.
Yeah.
But we pray and hope that he gets out of this matter so he could serve the nation as the deputy president. But the noises I was hearing yesterday from Kurusoi might not be of any help to this case.
Yeah. Were you surprised whether that yesterday we did not hear much about TNA has abandoned us, TNA is not exhibiting as much passion as it was when the president still had his case ongoing? Because that was the narrative leading up to this particular press from URP members especially.
Now, in this one, let me speak as a lawyer, and I've consistently spoken about this. When politicians gerrymander and sub-rattle around in the village, this is a purely legal issue. You hear the same bunch of people. When President Uhuru was supposed to go to The Hague, they all gathered, I don't know near which rock, and told the president, please don't go. A few of us who said, Your Excellency, it is time you go. Some of them, I remember one of them confronted me and said, you are Luo, you are not for the president. And I told me, you are the one who is not for the president, because you are giving wrong advice. You don't need enemies when your friends tell you the wrong things. And exactly that is what they are doing to Deputy President Ruto. They are making noise here, they are inflaming the people here, reflecting a bad picture at ICC. And ICC, I have said over and again, is a political court. There is more justice in Kibera court than
so then if it's
in
political,
ICC.
it would follow that the politicians engage
let
in
me
that
just
manner.
explain.
Yeah.
So when you want to deal with it politically, you don't go into some forest in Kurusoi. You actually engage that ICC at political level. How do you do it? You engage it at international level, through international channels. There is a rule they are applying contrary to what had been agreed upon. You engage the court and the international community at that level, in an international, organized and disciplined manner. You don't get Kindiki and there's cahoots going there near some tree, and I don't know whether they are praying to which god. Then they say we are helping the deputy. They are actually ruining for the deputy president. Let us look at this. When Kosge and his team were in ICC, they hired Honorable Wakili Jojora. When Modaura was also there, they hired a team from here. There is one thing common about these people, that they were all quiet. And when they went there and put in a case that we are innocent, it came up clear and they were out. Now this one, people somewhere in the forest are trying to talk to Judge Osuji, and Judge Osuji will be more annoyed. And they are worsening. Even here locally, if your cousins tell you have a case before Chief Justice Mutunga, and then your cousins in the village are insulting Mutunga in the village, he'll come, he's human. He'll say, okay, now let them help you.
So to the question...
First of all, in the forest, we went to pray. Secondly, the deputy president was not there. Therefore, this is politicians of Jubilee who decided to go and seek God.
All right,
it does not matter whether you seek in the caves, whether you seek, but it is very clear.
We will give Jeanette a moment to put two against one pretty much.
God we were praying.
I think if
the
you
normal
read,
God.
All right.
I think if you read today's papers, you will see that the prayer took less than 30 minutes.
In fact, one was rushed.
One was rushed.
According to the reports, yes.
According to my analysis, when I looked at the issue critically, I came to realize that the matter was about Rift Valley politics. It's not about ICC. Even the choice of the venue, you know, Kurusoi is one of the places where there is opposition within Rift Valley politics. The choice of that cave, there are many caves in Rift Valley. There are some, I think, even in Elgeyo Marakwet, where you can go down 800 kilometers. But that choice of Kurusoi and everything tells us that there is this Rift Valley politics, galvanization of Rift Valley, and, you know, putting them, you know, on alert that 2017 is coming, you know, let's be one, let's be united. No. It's not more of even, I don't think
ICC.
ICC is, as the lawyer has said, the forums where you handle ICC is in the African Union, in the United Nations, in the state assemblies, assembly of state parties. That's the places where Murkume needs to go. Not to Usuji does not understand some of the dialects you are speaking. So I was seeing my friend Aburi speaking in Meru language. Usuji doesn't understand that language.
That is
so
why
when
it was a prayer.
That
is why it was a prayer. And anyway,
those who say about the URP
Valley, it was not a Rift Valley 2017 political.
But URP has in the lead-up to his prayers been saying that TNA has pretty much abandoned them. They're not seeing as much activity.
Well, I don't think there was anything like TNA there yesterday, and I didn't even hear one word uttered as TNA. And therefore, it was a Jubilee prayer day and prayer for the ICC.
URP
and anyway, this is not the first time we've been praying.
It was not Jubilee affair.
So the courts cannot tell us.
Even ODM renegades were there.
Mungaro was there.
ODM renegades were there.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it was not a Rift Valley agenda. It was a Kenyan agenda, an agenda we started long way before even we knew the president will come out of the ICC. So for me, the ICC cannot look at prayers as a threat to deal with the case the way it is at the moment. Kenyans have been praying, they've been praying for this case, we'll continue praying for the case. And for me, the most important thing is all the issues we've been doing. Yes, there are those who are doing quietly, there are those who are doing diplomacy shuttle as we have been doing. And also we know another strategy, and we'll continue with that strategy, is praying. And praying, we are praying to our God who we believe in.
All right, and we'll be following those
and the
prayers
Constitution gives us the right to advocate. And the ICC should know we are using the Constitution. There's no place we are trying to tamper. In fact, they are the ones who have now made us not use our Constitution.
Last one before
one thing I think is that the prayers to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that we do, those ones were not one. Those were either would do prayers or trying to entice ourselves on the Burut.
Well, if we're the believers who do prayers,
I urge politicians.
And we had bishops there.
Please, I urge politicians
who pray
to allow our Kili Khan and his team, and then us as Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to deal with this issue. Porojo wacheni, you are making it worse.
The Porojo came in because the same people who we are expecting foreign affairs to deal with it, they have left
Let's move on to another subject. We'll continue to follow the developments there. But let's talk about Makueni County. And the Nyaoga-led team submitted its report recommending that it be dissolved, the county. The president, however, said the reasons given do not constitute exceptional and extraordinary circumstances to warrant the same. Jeanette, why are you disappointed with that finding, or in agreement with the president?
I am very much disappointed with that finding of the president, because the president himself appointed a commission to go and look into that matter. And I expected the president, as much as he has latitude to decide on what to do with the report, but I expected him to respect the opinion of the commission. That place, as you are aware, is in the state of anarchy, where that county is not functioning. 2013-2014 year, they never had any budget. The delay of budget for 6 months. They have been fighting. The county assembly and the executive cannot work together. There are even incidents of shooting where almost lives were lost. So that kind of, I think, I will be candid with the president. I think other than the report, there are other things that have informed his decision, and I suspect it's political.
Like what?
I think the president maybe thinks he may benefit from the state politically, from the way things are in Makueni at the moment. Because when I saw that governor, Kivuda Kibwana, now realigning himself with the Wiper Democratic Party, maybe the president, being the head of, the Jubilee regime, thought that now that this man might come back as a governor even if I call for an election. So the best way is to still, keep that place as it is. And I'm sure the county assembly members must have, given a word that we are ready to work with so and so, please don't dissolve. I don't think the decision has been informed by the report. Because
the president says, yes, he's cognizant and acknowledges there were issues, some of which you have highlighted. However, he says the threshold was not met, that there needs to be a very high threshold. Because then, had that happened, what would have then taken place is, again an attack against that decision to say, oh, now you are infringing and interfering with devolution, being too quick to dissolve a county?
I don't think the president will have infringed on any way devolution. This is a constitutional matter. It is a due process. Okay. He didn't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to dissolve Makueni County, or I'm going to dissolve Migori County or something. See, it went through the process that's required by law. And there's a commission that was appointed, and the commission found out that there are grievous, which the president acknowledged, problems there. So I think if we will respect the decision of the president that he has not dissolved it, but it might not help the situation of Makueni. Yes.
We'll hear what you have to say, but let's listen from one of our callers, viewers this morning. Ephantus, good morning. Hello? Ephantus? All right, we appear to have lost him. Senator, you agree, or what do you have to say on that matter?
First of all, I think the president, yes, has followed the procedure that is within the law, the County Governments Act, on how to dissolve a county. And I know he has given his recommendations. The recommendations will come to Senate. I think Senate is the one that has now the final say. It can decide to refuse with the recommendations and say, yes, due to these issues, the county has to go through an interim or whatever. So first of all, we will look at the recommendations. What we need to ask ourselves, and for me, I would say that when I look at the governor, because he's the one who initiated this process. So as much as you bring back the process to him and tell him now run the government, there are many issues that I believe we have to recommend so that it sets precedent, so that we don't have governors who will just wake up every morning and think, now that I am not in need of Junet, I will go and call up, do a petition and just decide my county has to be dissolved. Because that is what now, when you look at what they have done, that is what happened. And for me now, moving forward for Makueni, without looking at it politically, because I don't think the president has any issue politically.
You don't agree with those calculations?
No. Yeah, for what reason? We have moved on. We are in government.
Political.
Either way, Makueni is there or not there, we have no business with them until 2017.
Which is fast approaching?
I mean, whether it approaches or not, it is not really a priority right now for Jubilee government. Our priority was to see a county that is functional, a county that can work together. And for me, I think also there are key reasons why you should dissolve a county, and I think that's what the president was looking at. What are your issues? Very petty issues of saying you cannot work with your county assembly, but it was not a crisis where we are saying there's issue of insecurity, there's issue that people are fighting. Those are the key issues we put in the constitution.
And what happens now? Is it a status quo, or can other processes still be
That's
initiated?
why I'm saying let the recommendations come to the Senate, and the Senate will decide the final for Makueni.
Okay.
Yeah, first of all, let me educate the MP for Suna East. The president does not decide whether or not to dissolve a county. What the president did was to do what the law requires. You establish a team to look at it. Then he puts in his input. Then he gives it to the Senate. The word rests with the Senate. I think the knowledge I have about Makueni, they have issues. They have issues between the Assembly and the governor. And those issues, they are both contributed to it. But the president is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He has to look at the entire country and then decide whether. If you take an election for a county governor and the MCS, I think it will cost much more money than we need to pay teachers. So a president sitting in State House would look and say, if two people cannot sit and vote for a bill or pass a budget, and then I have a crisis with the teachers here, we don't have funds, do we set aside these funds to do politics, or we tell them to sit down in a room and agree and then move forward? So I think there are issues in Makueni. The team did a good job. But the president, looking at the entire country, I think made a correct decision by recommending that these people look at other issues other than going for elections, which disrupts the economy, hurts the county, and then costs money that we don't have when we have other priority issues. So in that, the court brigade led by MP Osuna, you need to congratulate the president, say this is wisdom that we need in the country. And I hope the Senate also will look at it not more as President Uhuru and Jubilee seeking to do what. They rather look at it as a country Kenya. So that my tax is not used to fund an election, which is not necessary, when you should use it to pay a few teachers who are willing to work.
First, what we were saying is not that we know the president has no powers to resolve. We are saying the president should have agreed with the recommendations of the committee, the commission. But you see, Sophia, this is not the way they are belittling it. This is a serious issue. It's an issue that is equivalent to a situation where today the National Assembly refuses to work with the executive that's led by the president himself here in Nairobi. What is going to happen in such a scenario? Number two, they have to put into consideration this matter was brought up by Makueni people themselves. It was not brought by the County Assembly of Makueni. It was not brought by the governor himself. The signatures were collected by the residents of Makueni County. And sovereign power lies with the people of the republic. And those people have expressed their sovereignty by collecting their signatures and saying, we don't have faith in this government. And Makueni County is a government, just like Uhuru Kenyatta's government at the national level. So you must respect the will of the people. Government. It's not a branch government. We have 48 governments, 47 county governments and one national government. Okay. Now you have to respect the will of the people. You have to respect the wishes of the people. If the people themselves say, we have no confidence in these people, that is what democracy is all about.
But doesn't the president then
and
get
democracy
to a place?
is expensive.
Yes. Okay, that is expensive.
It's
You've answered the question I was going to ask you next.
It's expensive.
So why not consider the will of the people? Because as the MP said, they wanted this dissolved.
That's why I'm saying the will of the people was initiated politically. And for me,
they were pushed, they were guided.
Pushed, because when you look at now the professor, and you know I respect so much Professor, we've worked with him, I don't understand where it went wrong, where he could not have skills of looking at the dynamics of every politician and understanding that I can work together regardless of the opinions I disagree with, but try and mold this county to work together, and we move on for the benefit of the Makueni people.
So you see failure on his part as government?
Yes, big failure in terms of leadership, because if indeed there are 48 governments, why do you come back crying to the national government to take over your government? How? Where would you do that? Who in his rights will come and say, oh, now you people, I cannot work with the county assembly, now we dissolve and I take you back to the national government, without thinking, how will you be in the end? How will people judge you historically?
Right.
So for me, it was a really lack of leadership in terms of understanding the
lack
dynamics.
of leadership, and the people were coerced.
Yes,
you say what to that?
Absolutely coerced to pick the signatures.
I don't think you can coerce 50,000 people.
Oh,
I don't think. Number two, if the governor has not shown any leadership, or the governor lacks leadership qualities or something like that, that is the same reason why Makueni people are asking for an election. That is the same reason why Makueni people want their county dissolved. So it will be upon the Makueni people to decide whether to return him back as a governor or not. So the Makueni people want to be given an opportunity, you know, to put their house in order. So if the governor did not perform, the Makueni people will decide in the election that this governor is not a good man, and they will not return him back.
Let me explain to you why actually CORD would be very keen in ensuring this election there. Professor Kebwana rebelled against Ford and went on his Mwananchi party alone. Okay, and won. Then the MCAs that he has are actually called MCAs, majority of them. So they went and said, we want to bring you down. Now, Professor Kebwana, being, I know him, can be a very principled man and tough-headed. He rescued me from being expelled from the university when he stood by me and everybody else ran away. So he said, okay, I'll show you need the money more than I do. We are going down. So he stood his ground to ensure he knows that most of these MCs may not come back. But CORD, on the other hand, would want him out of the way, because out of the way by putting a CORD governor. So they want these elections also. So if there were to be elections, CORD stands to benefit. But if you look at the people of Kenya generally, it would not be feasible at this time. 50,000 people. If you put a little money there, 200 shillings. you will be able to get them very quickly. That's what court failed to do,
so
and therefore failed to get 1 million votes.
So you're agreeing with him then, in a sense, the president may have considered the fact that it would be court that would gain from...
That's now my analysis. The president looked at... The president has the teacher's salary to grapple with.
And we'll go there.
And therefore, if you're going to spend another 50, 80 billion now on elections in Makueni at this time, about a year to next elections, surely that would not be a prudent president who understands economics the way President Uhuru does.
In fact, just word on that, court wanted a ground where they can look at OCOA, how does it work, where you vibe now and see, are we still there, or can we use this as a ground now to revamp ourselves and even can launch OCOA there?
Relaunch it. And we'll talk about OCOA and how far you're going.
They have not even launched it yet.
The retreat. But let's talk about the teachers, because second week of them being away from school, exams are fast approaching, the national exams, and you have the court ruling that the strike is unprotected. The judge was careful not to say illegal on that one. The teachers are, however, staying put. They're saying we're not going back to school. So standoff is on. The students get to suffer. The teachers are arguing, if you're not going to respect a court order and pay us, we're not going to respect when you're told that we are on strike and procedurally. So how do you resolve this kind of an issue? I'll start with you, Jeanette.
No, I wish you had started with Weda, because he's the government. He's the government. But what I can say is that this is a clear manifestation of a failed government. Why do I say so? This is a government that has gone to court with teachers. The labor court, went to appeal court, went to the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. And the cases, the case has been ruled against them. Instead of engaging the teachers, in a bilateral manner like the way they engaged with Museveni on sugar matters, and sit down with them and tell them that let's talk and see how we can pay you, you will see characters just stamping, Treasury CS saying we don't have money to pay teachers. And the cornerstone of this country, one of the pillars of this country is the education sector. We have a situation where 90% of children of this country go to public schools, and today they are at home for the second week. It's embarrassing. It's total embarrassment. And if it was developed democracies, this government will have resigned. We'll have called for an election. Because you can't have millions...
But it's not the first time in Kenya's history we had an issue between government and teachers.
That is the norm. You see, bad manners.
But they have not always been the ones in office. So isn't this just an issue
at
in
this
terms
era,
of education?
I'm saying in this era.
They should have been the ones to fix it once and for all.
Since I finished college, I have not seen this kind of strike. But in this era of today, I don't think this government, should sleep pretty and go to Kurusoi and other places to shout at the top of their voices when they have this kind of scenario or magnitude of problem facing them.
Right.
It's just, they are saying they don't have money to pay teachers, when you can see the issue here is that they have not prioritized it as a priority issue. They have not made it a priority to pay the teachers.
Okay.
When this government wants to pay someone, they do it very fast, including the Anglo-leasing, 1.4 billion.
So, Senator, the government appears to be alone in a corner. The entire country is behind the teachers, largely, from what we've been seeing. So, shouldn't they just pay?
Before even we go to the paying, and I want to just tell my friend Jeanette, now they are very happy. They have an agenda they can walk around and talk about, forgetting they were part of the problems the days of the Grand Coalition. But when I look at the new constitution, and I think that is where, really, we must ask ourselves as Kenyans, when we agreed that we shall have a new dispensation, were we ready to take all the sectors to that new dispensation? Because I think even there is where now the courts come in and do a very injustice way of managing the whole process. So for me, I am in support, yes, you pay the teachers. But at the same time, I'm asking myself, and before I even blame government, I want to ask the National Assembly, who in the new constitution are supposed to be the ones going back to Parliament very fast, calling in the budget team, asking themselves where do we remove the money, and even they can release some of their CDF. We are just here asking for 1 billion, yet them, when you want to touch their 30 billion, they go crazy. They won't even remember the teachers. And when you ask them, really, we are saying we're in a crisis. Can you, for the first time in the history of the country, just remove 1 billion from your CDF, they will be the ones who will now change, and there will be a different battle in this country. Because that is where you can get this money, to be very honest. You can remove it from CDF, even 5 billion. And then ask them just to, because the governors are already having money playing around in the counties with it. For me, they are the ones to do this budget for the country. Even if you talk to the president, he still needs the National Assembly to come in and prepare a framework. Where do we get this money? Then when we move on now, for me, I want to tell TSC, you release the money, yes, but can you wake up and also do your job right? Because really, you can't just sit pretty, go to court, wait, come. What were they waiting for? For me, this is the worst I have seen in all of them, that you sit down and wait comfortably. And I'm saying this as Bitrizelachi now. I don't want to say now as government. I'm just asking myself, you sat down, the ministry sat down, looked at them pretty, and forgot at one point you will have this crisis. It is very, very wrong. And at that time, the budget was being done. They would have come to the National Assembly, say, we can see we have this court case. We don't know how it will end up. Let us just give us others more money for the sake of this. If it happens, we are able to manage and move. The last thing I just want to say, can TSC now crack the whip, pay the teachers, but follow up? Because even today, when you see a young child constructing a sentence,
it's difficult.
It is so difficult. They are in standard 5, they can't. Why are we paying the teachers?
All right.
And lastly, Serem, if indeed teachers are the same as the others, what the hell are we waiting for? A clear guideline of saying you are all civil servants and this is how you must follow and this is what we must do as civil servants. And whoever doesn't want to stay, TSC, you are the one to pay and sack. Why are you not even sacking the ones you don't want?
So you've questioned the judicial processes and decisions that are being made from the courts. We'll get to that, but first to the members of parliament, and that there is power in you to be able to give some of this money that largely when it comes to matters that touch on you, you're very fast to agree on those kind of things. What do you say to that?
I agree with her that Parliament has a role to play to provide the money, but you see, the budget is a process. Parliament cannot just sit down and say, we have removed this amount of money from here to that place. Parliament gets proposal from Treasury. When we go back, now we are going back, but next year, around February or March, we get something called budget policy statement, for example, that guide us on what the government priorities are. The Treasury again brings the budget proposals, sent to different departmental committees to decide on how to allocate those kind of funds. So, Treasury has an integral part to play in this matter. It's not all about Parliament. It's just passing the buck. It's just looking for a lame excuse for the failures of the government, the executive, that the Parliament has not done. Parliament has no role. Parliament does not collect taxes. Parliament does not keep the treasury of the country. Parliament just implements and looks and analyzes and legislates on what agenda that is brought to them.
Okay.
So it's just...
I think when it comes to money, Parliament, the National Assembly and the Senate are part of the problem. And when they talk about Sarah Serem, I weep, because parliamentarians, against express recommendation of Sarah Serem, went ahead and blackmailed everybody and are earning almost 3 times the salary that Sarah Serem recommended, and for which I keep on repeating and I'll repeat, we will ask you to refund when you leave Parliament. But look at it this way. When it comes to teachers' salary, to reallocate funds to pay teachers, that is the work of the National Assembly. They know it. Look, they are going round. They know it. Then secondly, as Kenyans, government is not a bottomless pit of cash. It collects 1.5 trillion shillings, Kenya shillings. That is what is divided. They did not budget for this new salary. So legislation has to be passed authorizing.
But while engaging with the teachers, and initially they were asking for 300% increase, when government was saying, okay, then we'll do 50 to 60%, why say it if at all you didn't have money at the time? Because then teachers are saying, you are being dishonest during the times of negotiations, and now when the court has agreed with them, then still they're refusing to budge.
Now let me tell you where I think a mistake occurred.
Yeah.
Teachers were fighting for the salary, saying we want this increase. I think government also went ahead to increase other allowances, so that as we talk today, they earn very fat salary. You add them what they're asking, they'll earn almost 3 times an ordinary civil servant.
Yeah.
That is what's happening. So I think the question now with the court orders is not whether government will pay. It should be when they will pay. And that is where I fault teachers. Because there was a court order on Friday. Then on Monday they went on strike. Contrary to law. Law requires there must be a dispute. That dispute must have been declared. There must be a meeting on it. And then there must be a stalemate. Here, there is no dispute as to whether they are supposed to be paid because the court has cleared it. It is only when. And that is when where government would say, look, we need this reallocation, we need to collect these funds, then we will pay you even in arrears. Now, when teachers have gone on strike today, that is an illegal strike. I'm telling them it's illegal strike, and we are unhappy about it as people of Kenya, and we tell you stop, because when payments will come, they will be in arrears even for the days that you didn't go to work. Let's not behave like we are in a jungle area. That is where they get it wrong. Whether or not they'll be paid, I think now the court has cleared that. It is when the money is available. It's coming. And
we'll continue to watch that story and definitely keep our viewers updated on developments. Another big story last week that unfolded with some drama was the former Deputy Inspector General of Police, Kaindi. We have some of what Martha Karua, politician, had to say about the same, and also the National Police Service Commission. Director, let me know when you have those substance, and we can just take a listen before we get into just breaking down from where you sit, how you see it, because as opposition, you said that actually some reports indicated that the former Prime Minister had told her to stay put, and she appeared to have then adhered to the same if in fact it happened. But then that standoff happened and she was kicked out finally. So you say what to this in terms of where it has gotten to so far?
I think it was a very unfortunate, very unfortunate thing that has happened in our country. You know, we got a new constitution in 2010. And we thought by getting the new constitution, we will have discarded or we will have gotten rid of the old order, and we will be operating in a new order. You know, the constitution has put the Inspector General of Police, you know, as an independent entity with a commission that you know, does its work, the National Police Service Commission. And when you see now a regime that wants to get rid of police, Inspector General of Police or his deputy, just like the way they were doing with the police commissioner, the previous police commissioner, it's really clear that we have gone back to the old order. Now, this lady was being removed. First, she has not been given any letter. She's being removed like the Kanu old days, where you listen, you hear your dismissal through the 1 o'clock news, that you have been dismissed from office with immediate effect. She has never been given any letter saying that your services have been terminated. Number 2, the recruitment of the new person. This lady went through a process. People applied for these jobs, they were vetted, they were shortlisted, and that process opens up to Kenyans for competitiveness. You know, even me, if I feel I want to be a deputy commissioner of police, even if I don't qualify, I can apply, but I will be told, no, you don't qualify. We had a scenario where over 1,000 people applied when the first police inspector general was being recruited in the year 2011 somewhere, I can't remember. So this due process is being discarded, is being, you know, gotten rid of for reasons that we are unable to understand. Now the opposition, the alternative government that stands for the good of the country, has to come in and say, no, we are going back to the old order. The constitution says this lady should have been removed in this way. We are not saying that she should be there for eternity. If her retirement age has reached, there is a way of getting rid of her. We have seen a scenario where the chairman of the National Police Service Commission had written to her earlier and said that you need to retire at 60 years and we are giving you notice. The same chairman wrote back to her again and said, no, ignore my previous letter, and this is the way. All those records are there.
All right. So this has not been handled well. Yes.
The biggest problem we have is the procedure and the process that the government has followed. Tomorrow you will hear the Inspector General dismissed. You will hear the Chief Justice dismissed. These are constitutional offices. They have due process to be followed for those people to be removed.
All right. I understand we have Fantas back online. Fantas, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Thank you for calling. You wanted to make a contribution?
Yes, madam.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm from Nakuru. And from Kuresoi, where the prayer was taking place.
Did you attend the prayers?
Yeah. Sorry?
Okay.
Yeah, you see, when you see these prayers of concerning Deputy President on the ICC, this is more than a prayer, because when you see on the other side, these guys, they were the same people who were in Turbo. Remember the other time they were having the same prayer in Turbo? When you come to Rift Valley politics, there is some strongholds of politicians. See a place like Kuresoi, that is a jungle. That is where people are, they're strong. The URP guys, I mean for the Jubilee.
Yes.
I'm saying the Kuresoi, the population of Kuresoi is too high. At the same time, in North Rift, you see the Turbo, how they were there. This is kind of it reflects, it's kind of an incitement when I don't think it's a right way to go and shout outside there saying that we are praying for the Deputy President. And yet it reflects, it tells that these guys, they like mobilizing goons and inciting the community that once the Deputy President goes to The Hague, and then the prosecutor decide now, you have to go in. You see, things will backfire on the president.
Okay, Fantas. All right, your point has been made. We thank you for watching and sharing with us your thoughts this morning. And keep your thoughts and comments coming. I see you tweeting as well. I'll be sampling some of your thoughts as we go along. But let's now take a listen to what Martha Karua had to say on the topic of discussion. Currently, we're talking about the dismissal of DIG Kaindi and how that matter was handled. Jeanette Mohammed saying due process clearly not followed, and we'll hear what other panelists have to say about it. But let's take a listen first to what Martha Karua and Kavuludi had to say as well.
The Commission, in pursuit of its mandate, sat down and received a proposal from the Inspector General, which proposal was subjected to discussion, and the Commission agreed with the name that was proposed.
The President cannot involve himself in shuffling police officers. If they really wanted to do it right, the National Police Service would have finished with Kaindi, and then the President would be free to pick her as an ambassador anywhere he wishes.
All right, Martha Karua, then Kavuludi, on the issue of dismissal of the DIG. Senator, do you agree this was not handled well, or do you think due process was followed?
First of all, I think it was not handled well. It's good to be honest. And I think, one, if indeed Kaindi's time had come for retirement, I don't know why they decided again to give her a new contract of saying you can still stay on, because that is just where the whole mistake again comes in. And that's why I have a big problem with most of our technical people in government, in how we handle things and how we just do a proposal today, tomorrow you wake up and decide, oh, it was wrong, and you just... Now, when the redoing of the whole process starts, you look at it and you wonder, are we really following the law? Because for me, first of all, I don't understand how the police service, the whole police team, can tell me we don't have a woman who is qualified like Kaindi, who can now take over the position. Yet the Constitution is very clear. You can only have either gender. And that is where I look at it and we say, we cannot accept this, because the moment we accept that proposal now, it means forever they will never respect again either a man or a woman should be in those positions. So I want to ask the police commission, and especially Kavulundi, whatever woman who is there, whether she's now still a corporal but she's qualified, has to move up and get the position. I mean, that is why the Constitution, because when they knew Kaindi was going for retirement, in between they would have been looking at who is another senior-most woman who we can replace Kaindi with. But you can't just wake up and tell Kenyans, now there are no women Now we just put in a man. And anyway, they would have left Parliament to decide that, because they have to still vet either the man or the woman and see how qualified they are.
Yeah.
And for the police, I don't think you really need to look at. Before, we never used to push them to have degrees. So what of this experience are you telling me? You are not looking at the papers. You are looking of the years. So there are women who have been, they are in Kiganjo. They are training this police. They can be recalled and be given.
So then would you agree with those who say that she was being pushed out quickly and in this particular manner because she was interfering with some big type tender money stuff?
No, but where were they? If she was interfering with big tenders, when her time of retirement, they had the best opportunity to just make her move, because her retirement time had come. Why did you give her a new contract then, when you knew already she's an obstacle in your procurement stuff?
Okay.
Well done. You know, I wonder what people are looking at. I don't know what they are seeing. Either they want just to be populist. This lady is moving from one prime job in government to another one, ambassadorial position. If people looked at it like that, say, wow, your stars are beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And then they are saying, but look at it. In government, what I've seen, the little that I've seen in a state corporation, and I see, it opened my eyes. Actually, in government, when you are leaving, nobody says bye. I see judges, they just walk out. I see people, when your term expires, if it expires at 8 o'clock, by 8:15, you are not allowed even into your office. That's the way they, unless they do legislation that requires.
Her argument is she has a contract which expires in 2018.
Now, that's a joke. The law itself says, if you're a police officer, a civil servant, you retire at 60.
She argues she's a state officer, not a civil servant.
It's not the argument.
That according to the engagement before, she'd been addressed as a state officer.
Now, listen, let me now explain as a lawyer. She thinks the way they explain traffic bribes outside there. The law itself says, if you are a civil servant at 60, and she became deputy IG as a civil servant, as a police officer, when you reach 60, you retire. And then it is not by way of a letter of some ceremony. In your payslip, they always say, Sasa umri wako ni. Then when it is a year to, they say you are retiring with this. Then the day of retirement, the government computers, everything shuts down. She should have seen that. And then thanked His Excellency the President, say, oh, you have remembered me, when others are going home quietly. So there is this thing. I think she listened to rebellious advice from the court brigade. Stay put. You don't do that for a decent person who has risen to a deputy IG. I would recommend and urge her, please prepare your papers and take your ambassadorial position. This noise around here is wasting everybody's time. We need a new person to come, whether a lady or whatever.
No, the law says that lady.
Yes. I totally agree with what the senator said. But you see, let's not look at this thing in a narrow perspective that you have been removed from this job of being the Deputy Inspector General and being taken to ambassador. You see, some people might not be interested to be an ambassador. You know, now, for example, the lawyer is the chairman of Sony Sugar. Some people might not be interested to be a chairman of a sugar company, which is collapsing like the one he's leading. Now, don't entice people with some people want to be career civil servants. They want to be career police officers. The lady might be enjoying working for police. So when you say, I'm giving you another job, leave this job, that might not be one of the considerations that she should leave the office.
So who defines what office she is? Is it state officer or is it civil servant?
She's a state officer.
Can I clarify
She's a civil servant.
No, she's not.
What does the Constitution say?
Civil servant.
No, she's a state officer.
We need
a constitution here.
Package
let me tell you. Let me tell. There are people who can go like
Inspector General. Don't go through vetting.
Like an Inspector General. It's not the process. Like an Inspector General can be even a civilian, even you. Now, if you go in that way, you go in a contract of the 5 years.
Yeah.
But you are not a police officer. Now, there is another person who is a police officer, who, even if you are sacked as Inspector General, if you have not reached the age of 60, you are deployed elsewhere. You are just removed from that office, but given something else. Now, this lady is a civil servant who has reached the age of 60. Retirement, then redeployment. Why people fear retirement and they bring in hula baloo, I don't understand.
But the manner in which it was handled, though.
Yeah, for me, it's the process.
Which man? She's been given another job.
No.
The
That is
IG
one. And then
and apparently
secondly,
the person coming to act, showing up in the office.
her time was so automatically.
Yes,
When the date reached,
she should have.
she ceases to be a deputy inspector. In Aisha, hata kama you sit in that office in double uniform, you are not.
But there's decorum on how you do
On
things.
how you
In
do
a
things.
process.
No,
No. You have worked for people for 60 years. I believe there is a better process of managing and retiring in a better way.
Okay.
Just the way the army does their stuff and
Yes.
everything.
Jeanette, you had something to say?
No, I just wanted to add that the fact is that lady is a state officer. Civil servants are employed only once. You go through the ranks until you retire. But once you are put through a process, and the process of employing the Inspector General and his two deputies are different from civil servants. So that is why she's saying she's a state officer. Even me, I'm a state officer as a member of parliament. So please, let us not say that she's not a state officer so that we can get rid of her.
She never went through that process, so let us not...
She was vetted.
All right,
She
we are
was
going to
vetted.
wind up in 2 minutes. Before that, however, quickly, there's a retreat that's ongoing for the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy. There has been reports that have suggested there's some, people uncomfortable in terms of especially who will be the candidate come 2017. But there are those who say, yes, you see Wiper coming out endorsing Kalonzo, you see Ford saying it's Wetangula. But saying these are all just sideshows. That dice was cast a very long time ago. There is no way it's going to be anyone else other than Raila Odinga. What do you say?
Those are just speculations. One thing I want to tell you that, CORD is a bit, is founded on democratic principles, where everybody can say or everybody can aspire to contest as a presidential candidate on that ticket. Unlike where that belongs to where destiny has been confined to some people that you have to wait for 2050 for you to say you can be a president. 2017 is known, 2022 is known, 2032 is known, because Ruto has to go back for a second term. We are not going that way. Junet will say he wants to run as a president on court ticket. So it's open. Later on, we will come together and see who among us is the best candidate that can give, can run against President Kenyatta. So we are going to a retreat to bond and to discuss and to review what we have achieved or what we have not achieved the last 2.5 years, with the way forward, how we can face the next election, what we need to do. Those are the kind of things we are discussing. The agenda is not only about presidential candidates.
There's several things.
Yes, but them we know. 2050 is booked. Ours is open. Even you can come.
Even I can join.
You can come. Yes.
Final words, then we go.
Hallelujah. The gods will come down if that is what God will give us.
Yeah?
For them, I would even say, Jubilee, our democracy has been seen. And we are very free when we say, yes, 2022, we will give it to William Ruto. It is up to us to say that. For CORD, they are not even saying, they are saying, look here, Kalonzo, if it is not Raila, you are out. We don't even need you. We have no business with you. We can get a candidate in Rift Valley.
Okay.
Two things. One, I would like to correct my Mheshimiwa of Suna East. Sorry. Sony Sugar is one of the most robust sugar millers, and it employs thousands of people in the county.
No,
if you really do not know. I remember the other day you went there demanding a field.
A field?
To come and hold your talk shop rallies in the field. You went there very arrogantly.
Yeah.
I was told, I said, allow him, he's a young man, his blood is still flowing very hard. Allow him to
No, we wanted
sugar.
to speak to the
So,
farmers.
It cannot be collapsing when it is doing so well and the field is so well and you are using their facilities and we are employing your electorate and we are raking in money and we are moving. Yeah. That is one. Two, the CORD candidate is, I know, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And what they are saying in the backyard, if Kalonzo does not want, he can go because he left in 2007 and Raila almost went to win. We are still waiting for the referendum so that we give you round one defeat as a precursor to the 2017 defeat. When is it coming? Thank you.
We will talk about when it is coming next time. Thank you all for joining us, saying it as you see it. Ambrose Weda, who's a lawyer, Beatrice Elachi, Majority Whip at the Senate, and Suna East Member of Parliament, Jeanette Mohammed with us. Asanteni Sana, and I wish you a lovely week. That's why we wrap it up. Stay with us. We're coming up with the news and what's making headlines not only in the country, in the region as well, and across the world. Stay with Morning Express here on KTN.